Hi, welcome to Luxury in Moderation, where we appreciate the finer things in life without going overboard. So in my last video, I talked about what a timeless classic handbag style means to me. I had come up with my conclusion or my theory based on my experience of being in this luxury handbag buying world for the last, 5 or so years, like really immersed in it. And now I want to share more lessons that I've learned that I feel have evolved over time that I was only able to get after experiencing it. So, as much as I watched other people's experience on YouTube, learned from others, I still had a lot of questions for myself, and I feel like I've only been able to answer those through time. And so I wanted to share those today, and I would love to be a helpful resource for you if you're just starting out in luxury handbags or you're interested in all this stuff. So please make sure to subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I hope this information is super helpful for you or you're just entertained by it. So let's jump into my new rules for buying luxury. Now that I have a core collection or a basics collection, you could say, that I have for myself, I've now have a different mindset. So in my last video, I mentioned that I had 3 tiers of price points based on the longevity of the bag I feel in my collection. So if I didn't feel like I could carry a handbag for more than 5 years, I wouldn't be willing to spend more than $500 on it. If I feel like I could carry a bag for between 5 and 10 years, I would be willing to spend up to $5,000 on it, including tax. And then for those truly timeless classics, which I feel like I could carry the bag for more than 10 years or the rest of my life, then I'll be willing to spend more than $5,000 on that bag. Now, it's really hard these days because prices of handbags are so high that even the more mediocre, so not that trendy bags are averaging $4,000 or $5,000. So I feel like the price points that I just said are kind of low, but I also don't want to feel like I overspent on a bag. I don't want to spend more than I have to on a bag that I'm not going to be happy with after 3 years. So this was always a question I had of like, how do people know how much they're willing to pay for a bag? Especially because when, for example, I watched Amelia Rose here on YouTube, she's Amelia Rose Closets. She had a budget in mind for the Birkin that she wanted to buy. She knew exactly what Birkin she wanted, what color, what specs, and she knew how much she was willing to pay for it. I was like, how do you know that? Because it's like if you found the exact same specs of a bag, but it was crazy price point, how do you know if you're willing to get to that price point? And I think it is purely from your own experience. You have to figure out what you are comfortable with paying. And I will tell you that I made mistakes, and that is why I now know what I feel comfortable paying. So there were 2 times where I felt unsure about the amount of money that I was spending. And I'm going to talk about them now so you can learn from my mistakes, but also your comfort level may be different than mine. So this is just my experience, but maybe you have to figure out for yourself, hopefully without making the actual mistake, what you're comfortable paying, right? So let me first talk about the Chanel Jumbo. In February or March of 2020, I bought this Chanel Jumbo for $8,000. And I walked out of that store feeling kind of sick to my stomach. Now I had the money in the bank. I knew I could pay $8,000 for it. And I love the color. I've always dreamed of having a nice, big, pale Chanel Jumbo bag. So this was what I was looking for. But it was still kind of an impulsive purchase because I believe I first spotted the bag on a Friday and then I went back on the Sunday and I bought the bag. And so it was like 2 days of thinking about it if I could spend $8,000. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So when I took that bag home, I was like, wow, that's the most I've ever spent on a bag. I don't know if this bag is worth it. It's Chanel, sure, but is it going to be too big for me? Am I going to end up hating it? Because a lot of people say it's too heavy. And I was really feeling sick. Now, fast forward, I now feel completely at peace with that purchase because, and only because, right after that happened, COVID shut everything down and Chanel prices spiked through the roof. And I'm so glad that I got my jumbo before the crazy Chanel price increases. Now I feel like it was such a steal, right? But if that hadn't happened, if the crazy coronavirus hadn't happened and Chanel hadn't, blown their prices through the roof immediately that year, I might still be like, that was a questionable purchase. Now, the second time where I felt like I spent way too much money on a handbag, not even a handbag, it's clutch, is this Kelly Depeche. So this was also an impulse purchase. I've come to realize that my impulse purchases are usually bad purchases. I bought this last August. I did not remember the price because I had asked about the price of this, I think, earlier that year or the year before. Completely out of my mind. I did not know how much it was, and I purchased it. I thought it would be not that much because it's such a tiny pouch. It's not even a bag, right? It's technically a wristlet. Wow, when they rang up this bag and I was like, wow, it was retails for $8,000, I think $500, something like that, right? Plus tax was over $9,000. I was like, this is probably a mistake. Why does it cost so much? It's because they put this dang Kelly closure on it, and therefore with this one detail, they've added probably 20%, thousands of dollars to the price point of this small leather piece, right? Because this right here, this design, this holds value in the eyes of the consumers. When consumers see this specific buckle, they are willing to pay more for it. I don't know if I fall in that crowd. I definitely not willing to pay $2,000 more for just having this closure. But for me, I took this home, and honestly, I do not think that this pouch is worth that much money. Now, I do think it is a timeless classic style. I do believe that I will not feel out of place with this, but because this bag is not as desirable as the Kelly or the Birkin, it does not hold that much value for me. The other reason why I know that this bag is not worth it is because I got myself a gigantic Christmas present last year, and it cost $2,000 less than this tiny piece of leather. So that's the next video that I'm going to do, so stay tuned for that. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss it. But I'm going to show the belated Christmas present that finally got here. Anyways, after making this mistake of knowing I do not feel comfortable paying $9,000 for this handbag slash clutch, I now understand that I don't want to get anywhere near $10,000 for a bag if it's not a timeless classic. And that is why I made my entire video last week. It's all kind of like a stream of consciousness, and that's why all these topics are blending together. But I wanted to share that so you can start thinking about it for yourself, and instead of making the mistake that I did, you can stop yourself from making that mistake. So sometimes it does take, kind of going over your limit, going over your comfort level before you actually know what the comfort level is, right? Now, any reasonable person, if they made that mistake, if they paid more than their comfort level of a bag, they would have just returned it. I did not return this, as you can see. So this is in my collection, and I will love it as much as I can. So the second rule that I had for myself is along the same lines. It's I want to think about the longevity of the bag in my collection. So I want to think in terms of 5 to 10 years at the very least. When I'm looking at these luxury handbags by every single brand that has thousands of dollars as a price point, I'm thinking, can I wear you for more than 2 seasons? Can I wear you for more than 2 summers? Because if not, I'm not willing to pay thousands of dollars for you. Rule number 3. I wanted to get more color in my collection because last year when I made a video and I looked over at my beautiful shelf, I did not have that mini Lindy yet. So let's just take this out of the picture for a second. Look at this. It's so very neutral, and that's fine. You know, some people have all black collections because they love black. I just always thought that I was a more colorful person. I always thought that I was not that neutral beige person. But looking at my entire collection of handbags, I only had one bag that was not a neutral, right? I loved to brag how my Chanel Classic Flap is in a navy. It's not a black, it's not the typical, everyone has it black, it's a navy. But, you know, it's basically a black because it's a very dark navy. If you take a very look at it, if you look at it through a camera lens, it looks black, right? It looks pretty dang neutral. So I shocked myself when I saw my collection. I was like, oh my God, it's so boring. I don't know how I got this kind of collection because I want something more interesting. And so now, as I am looking beyond my basic collection, because I'm going to say these are my basics. These are my, you know, I can pull any one of these out. They're going to match any kind of outfit because they're so neutral and they go with everything. Now that I have this and I don't need any more basics, I want to add color to my collection. I'm searching for bags that can give me that shot of color. I am no longer wanting or needing neutral bags. So for me, that's a goal for myself now. You know, I do not want anything that's gonna blend into this beige wall. Another new rule that I have for myself is that I must be delighted at the handbag in order to bring it into my collection. And I can only say this now after having my basics, okay? So I don't know if everyone's luxury handbag journey is the same as mine or similar to mine. Yours might be completely different. But for me, I felt like, and I did this subconsciously. I didn't even know I was doing it. But I needed, you know, my workhorse bags. I needed my practical bags. You know, I needed my pochette métis, which is my everyday crossbody because it's so practical. But now that I have these workhorse bags that I know is going to work for my lifestyle, if I'm ever going to add another handbag into my collection, I need to be absolutely delighted at the style, at the leather, at the price point in order to add it. Because I don't want to just be like, oh, it satisfies the criteria. I don't want it to be like, oh, if this is stuff that I need, it's a crossbody, it's a zipper, it has check, okay. Like, I have enough of those. So now I'm looking to be delighted. I have to be enamored for more than 2 to 3 weeks, I would say. So another thing I learned about myself is that I do lose interest in bags if I hold off for long enough. You know, I can be completely obsessed with a style, think it's super cute, think I need to have it in my collection, but I need to save up for it, you know, I need to hold off, maybe wait for a sale, you know, maybe on the pre-loved market. So I hold off on buying that style for a couple months. And lo and behold, what do you know? I don't even care about that style anymore. When you're just thinking about something that you like or love for a short period of time, you could be like, yeah, I haven't forgotten about the bag for 3 weeks. It must be the one for me. Because 3 weeks seems like an eternity when you want something and you can't have it. But if you just look at the bigger picture, you know, life is so much more than 3 weeks period of time. Look at 3 months. I've learned that my enthusiasm fades. And so I really need to test myself to see if I actually am going to love a style for more than a season. And then I can pull the trigger and spend that thousands of dollars so I can wear it for years and years and years. So those are my new rules for myself that I've only been able to list after having my basic classic collection and also my mistakes after buying handbags for, 5+ years. This is what I've learned about myself. I encourage you to think about, what your comfort level is. As you get more and more into the luxury world, these prices start to seem normal to you. When everyone you see on the internet is buying the same things at the same price points, it starts to normalize. But when you go into the store and pay the money yourself, it will feel different. So let me know what you guys think about my basics collection. Again, I was super shocked when I looked over at my shelf and saw all these neutral colors. I was like, wow, I really thought I was more interesting than that. So what do you guys think? Does it make me boring? Does it make me interesting? What about your collection? Do you have a lot of color? Do you have a lot of neutrals? I would love to learn more about it. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I would love to be a resource for you. And I can't wait to see you in the next video where I reveal my belated Christmas present. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!